time. Following the hearing, we will conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decisions. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet on the table by the north doors. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure will be follow for the hearing each applicant is. After each applicant is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. I ask that all testimony be kept brief, no more than 5 minutes, and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all the properties and recorded will reflect their observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision on this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability, makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. To my far left, Joe Piaski, Larry Crawford, Fred Gallerup, Bob Wadle, Terry Dopp Poxted, zoning administrator to my right, and my name is Mark Kirshner. First application that we will hear tonight is a conditional use. Arrow Ridge Ranch, Wautoma, Wisconsin. Matthew Brown, LLC, landowner, has made an application in accordance with sections 58-454 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish a private elk and deer hunts with meals and lodging with a proposed construction of a 44 by 66 three-bedroom lodge and a 34 by 56 office and equipment storage building in an AG 5, general agricultural 5-acre minimum zone within the shoreland area. Location on approximately 412 acres being part of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter and all of the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter of section 16 and part of the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter and part of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 20 and being all of the northwest quarter and the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter, part of the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter, and part of the southeast quarter of section 21, town 19 north, range 10 east, town of Wautoma, 14th lane, and please don't ask me to read that again. Is the applicant present? Would you come forward, please? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Matt Brown.
Okay, Matt, can you tell us a little bit of what you're going to do out there, Matt?
Pretty much what we're looking at doing is providing hunts. Simple, to the point, nothing fancy. I learned that from the past. Just something to enjoy, bring people in, bring them to the community, and enjoy hunting. You know, we're primarily focusing on bow hunts. If it works, great. Obviously, there's going to be potential for possible rifle hunts, but we're also going to follow the DNR schedule. So September to January, that's it. There's not going to be anything out of the ordinary, dusk to dawn, or the time frame that the DNR recommends. So we're...
Okay. The committee will have a few questions for you. Committee questions, please.
Yeah, do you know if there's been a recent survey for this area, the new area encompassed in the site?
Recent survey, no. I'm going off the surveys I've had done since I've purchased the properties over the years.
You know where all the lot lines are?
Yes, I do.
Describe the proposal a little bit more. The entire hunting area would be double fenced with limited access to prevent the animals from wandering around.
Correct.
These hunts will be for private individuals for a set fee with accommodations provided on site. You're gonna have a house for them to live in?
No. They are responsible for their own lodging. The house itself is for them to show up if they want to take a break. They can come, they can rest. If their wife or girlfriend shows up, they can sit there while their husband goes out hunting, or vice versa. The business is actually operated outside of my house. So in essence, what you can call it is a glorified clubhouse. Somewhere where they can come, gather. If they want to take a break, they can rest. That's what it's there for. And if there's multiple hunters in, that's why there's multiple rooms. One person or one couple could have their own separate room. They can go in there, they can change into their camouflage, their blaze, whatever they're comfortable with. And then the rest of the building is just a common, hey, let's talk about our hunts. Let's see what each individual did for a meeting area, if you want to call it that.
Planning on guided supervised hunts.
Yes.
Plan on having any commercial shooting facilities, target practice areas, or any competitions?
No.
What will you do with the game that is harvested? The animals?
As in?
What will you do with it? If somebody shoots an animal, what's the next step in the process for you?
We bring it back, we take care, we, in essence, gut the animal for them, but processing-wise, we recommend them they go to Stone Ridge. If they want to take it somewhere else, that's it. It's all on that individual that shoots the animal to find their own taxidermist, to find their own processing.
You won't be doing any meat processing on site?
Correct.
You have all your proper licenses from DATCAP, DNR, and will you meet all the requirements?
We will.
Is the local DNR warden aware of your request for this project?
I have not had a chance to get a hold of him because I found out Mr. Algram retired, so I think it's Mr. Mesmer that took over.
He's a supervisor, but there's a new warden for the area.
I have not been able to get in touch with him.
How often and what time of the year will your clients be frequenting the property?
From September to January.
What buildings will be used for your clients and employees? The garages for your equipment?
Equipment, storage, clients show up, the weather gets bad, they can pull their own vehicles in, pretty much use it for taking pictures if they end up shooting an animal closer towards cutoff time by the DNR standards. We can bring them in, pull it up, they can take pictures of it, they can, whatever the client wants to do with the animal at that point.
Will you be preparing and serving any food on site?
No, we will not.
Will you be serving any alcohol on site?
No.
What sort of sanitary facilities are planned? You have bathrooms in the house or?
Yes, there are bathrooms. There's even an ADA for the handicap that we're hoping to bring in for hunts.
Any other additions, buildings, or any other improvements planned in the near future?
No.
Are you planning on any new advertising signs or any advertising signs anywhere?
No, I am not.
Directional signs or?
No.
How are we gonna find you?
Call me. We'll give you directions.
If an approval is granted, when would the operation start?
Not till 2014.
That's all.
Anyone else have any other questions? Larry or Fred? Bob?
I do. Is this basically whitetail hunting, or are you going to have other animals?
No, it'll be whitetail, elk, and fallow deer. It's more, the fallow deer is more of an exotic animal. I guess if that's what you want to call it.
Okay. Any other questions for Matt? Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
It's addressed to me. Dear Terry, during our May board meeting, we did discuss a request by Matthew Brown. Matthew discussed his plans for a hunting outfitter's business. This is on land that he already owns. With the information presented, the town board has no opposition to this request. And that signed, thank you, Jeffrey L. Nett, Town Chair. Then on June 14th, we received a letter from the DNR, Michael Wenholtz of the DNR, and again, it's addressed to me. Terry, I am writing to provide comments regarding the Arrow Ridge Ranch conditional use request, and also the Burmeister property, Welch property, and Catlin Trust variance requests that we will be hearing later. That'll be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments on Thursday, June 20th, 2013. Thank you for providing me with application materials and for Christine and Amy discussing these sites with me. I am providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and/or read before the Board of Adjustments. Regarding Arrow Ridge Ranch request, GIS layers indicate an intermittent stream and/or a small pond or lake exist within portions of Section 16 and Section 21. The department's only comment is to assure the proposed lodge and office and equipment storage buildings meet all shoreline setbacks and requirements. And please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Arrow Ridge Ranch conditional use and the other requests. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email. And again, that's signed Mike Wenholtz of DNR. That's it.
Okay. Anyone in favor?
No.
Opposition? Speak in opposition, Kevin Schmidt.
My name is Kevin Schmidt. I'm the owner of Little Texas Ranch in Watoma. And my problem with this is the employees that he has, Forrest and Lisa Pike. He's employed to them. They had a non-compete. They were unethical, and they'd be slapped with a lawsuit as soon as they become incorporated. And I just wanted to make the board aware of that. Thank you.
Where is your property located?
Mile off of Z and Chicago.
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you. Staff comments, please?
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all other pertinent data for this and the other applications that they will be considering tonight. I'd like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright, along with uses that may be permitted, provided certain conditions are met. And that's what we're looking at here. It's a use that may be permitted, provided that certain parameters can be complied with, so that the use remains in keeping with the surrounding area and the current property uses. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits, and that sometimes makes it easier for people to understand. It's the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the building site is secluded and off a dead-end road. The office will be located at the home of the landowner, and that is allowed in the zone where the home is located. All the landowner needs to do is get a land use permit to have an office in their home, so that's not part of this application, but the committee did note that was how that was going to work, so there really wouldn't be an office at the site where the hunting and the meetings are going to take place. They also noted that all codes must be followed. There's quite a few whenever you get involved with hunting. All permits must be obtained before they did construction, and that the property will need a uniform address number once improvements are made. Other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Is there anything that the applicant would like to add? Okay, thank you. All right, the next conditional use that we will hear tonight, Harold M. and Alida M. Norling, Franklin, Wisconsin, have made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph 18, and 58-454, paragraph 31 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a 1998 Sierra 38-foot travel trailer in an AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 19.84 acre parcel of land known as Lot 8 of Certified Survey Map number 4210, being part of the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, Section 26, Town 19 North, Range 8 East, Town of Hancock, Brown Deer Court. Is the applicant present? Would you come forward, please? Would you state your name for the record?
Harold Norling.
Could you tell us a little bit what you want to do out there, Harold?
I'm sorry, please.
Could you tell us a little bit about your application and what you'd like to?
Yes. My wife, my son, and I have just under 100 acres out there south of Hancock. We bought our first 20-acre parcel in 1999. We have one travel trailer with a land use permit on Lot 7 that we've enjoyed for several years. We now have a second trailer that we have used for vacations and traveling in Wisconsin, Minocqua, Eagle River, etc. And we've always brought it during the hunting season to Lot 7 to use for the deer hunting season and taking it back with us. At my age, I'm getting tired of dragging it around, and I'm not too thrilled with the price of fuel these days either. So we'd like to put it out on Lot 8 and leave it there.
Okay, committee questions, please?
Has there been a recent survey of the property?
The property was surveyed when it was subdivided in 1999, and all of the stakes are there, and we know where those property lines are.
So you know where the lot lines are, okay?
Yes.
Is the trailer licensed and roadworthy now?
Yes, it is.
Will the trailer be at least 100 feet from all lot lines?
How many feet, sir?
100?
Yes, it's more than 100 feet from any lot line.
Are you sure of the lot line? I'm sorry. Will there be running water?
Running water?
Yes. What type of sanitary facilities are planned?
We have a porta-john.
Are any other buildings or structures planned?
That are planned? No. We have a couple of deer stands on the property.
That's your, for the trailer. Are you working with the zoning office and remedying the problem with the other structure present on the property that appears to be used for living purposes?
Yes, we are, and we have it totally resolved, subject to the final inspection with the deputy director.
Are there other trailers in the area?
Not on that parcel, but in the area, yes.
Is a new driveway needed for this property? Is the property in managed forest land?
No.
You have a uniform property address number for this piece of property.
We have a address number for Lot 7, but not for Lot 8. I'm presuming that will come based on a presumption of approval of the travel trailer being there.
If approved, approval is granted, when would the trailer be placed, or is it there already?
It is there now.
That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions from the committee? There is an awful lot of trailers out there. There is quite a few trailers out there around the area. There's like 3, 4 of them.
Yes, there are a couple. We had two, one on Lot 7, and then this one.
Okay.
There-
Which is currently on site.
There was a fire number at the corner. I don't
Right.
remember the number, but what is that number for? When you're heading west, and then you turn south to go to your trailer now, there's a number right there on the corner. Do you know what that number's for?
12887
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds like the
yeah.
right number.
is for what we call trailer number 1.
That's for you.
And when you go south, that driveway is just a sand road. It's an old fire lane. It's a quarter of a mile long,
Okay,
and the trailer is at the end of that. When you proceed further west, you enter onto Lot 8.
Right.
and then,
And that's, I'm guessing, maybe 350 yards or so.
and there is an easement that goes down between lot 7 and 8 that isn't quite as well kept as your driveway. I think that's why I always get confused when I'm out there. I want to go down your driveway.
Our driveway
But I
is
need to go to that
east
next
of
one,
the
right.
easement
Yep,
that's between
okay.
7 and 8. Yes,
That's-
you're right.
That's the confusion. Okay.
Any other committee questions? Okay,
Well, I would like
Oh,
to ask,
go ahead.
are those access roads going to be suitable for traffic, fire, ambulance, and that sort of thing? Can they get back in there without any difficulty?
The easement comes off of Highway FF and heads due west, I'm estimating almost a mile and a half until it reaches the We Energies easement for the natural gas pipeline. That easement stops at the west end of Lot 7, that you were referring to. And I'm not sure what conditions would be appropriate for what you're referring to. You can drive a big pickup truck back there. My wife had a heart attack back there 5 years ago, and thank goodness the paramedics were there within 10 minutes. We got her to the hospital, and she's doing fine. There is access on that easement for a lot of different sizes of vehicles. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Some of those vehicles are pretty massive, and I just wondered if they're going to be able to make turns and if the road is adequate for getting back in there for those larger vehicles.
My answer would be yes, it is. Yes.
okay. All right, thank you, Harold. Okay, correspondence?
We have no correspondence and no one registered to speak.
Nobody in favor or opposition? Staff comments, please.
This is another conditional use. We have quite a few of them in the area, as you noted, and we have quite a few of them in the county. This is something that is a common conditional use when you have 10 acres or more and don't want to haul the trailer back and forth. We do inspect these units once a year. We try to make sure that they stay licensed and roadworthy, that they have proper sanitary facilities. You know, if there was ever a need to move it out, it could be moved out, but then that they're not damaging the environment in any way while they're being used in there. So we do have quite a few of these. When the committee visited the property, they noted that there was a fire number posted at the corner and wondered which property this was for, and now I understand that it's yours, other trailer. They also noted that the trailer was located well off the public road and was likely not visible from other properties. And that's it for my comments.
Is there anything else the applicant would like to tell us, state? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next application is a zone change. The zone change is Flight Family Farm 2 LLC, Coloma, Wisconsin, has made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138 and 58-724, paragraph 5 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from an AG, General Agricultural, to a CS, Service Commercial, in accordance, conditionally establishing a farm market, retail outlet, and food processing and packaging facility. Plans include cooking classes and up to 3 larger seasonal events utilizing an existing 23 by 35 storage building and an approximately 40 by 60 single-family dwelling with proposed installation of commercial kitchen in the 17 by 25-foot attached garage. Location, an approximately 10-acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of certified survey map number 6042 being part of the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter, section 15, town 18 north, range 9 east, town of Richford, fire number W10770, State Road 21. Is the applicant or the representative present? Yes. Would you please come forward? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Chris Langenfeld, I'm the representative for the Flight Family Farm.
Chris, can you give us a little information about the proposed project?
Yes, I can. The proposed project is on a existing working farm, and we hope to effectively convert the two-car insulated, drywalled garage into a commercial kitchen where we can produce sauces and canned goods from the existing things that the flights produce, the berries, strawberries, blueberries, those types of things, doing some pickling, to also then have in a retail store in the existing single-family home in the winter and possibly an outbuilding for seasonal use. We will be started this week contacting different tradespeople to get quotes on, what it would cost to do this, make sure everything is up to code. We're in contact with a local architect to review the property actually tomorrow. And the goal is to promote local foods, promote local business, draw people in from other areas also on Highway 21 and encourage them to be using what we're selling but also shop local at their places. So really promoting using what you can where you're at is really the goal. We'll have, the marketplace will include not only foods that we produce at the local kitchen there, but also artisans that maybe repurpose things from the environment that might be headed to the landfill, maybe create their own things that promote keeping things local. The kitchen, we're in contact with Lori at DATCAP, and we'll be contacting her again tomorrow to try and do a site visit. We're holding off on site visits for a little while because there's a current renter has rent of the house until the end of July. So until they're officially out, we don't want to intrude in their privacy in getting into the house, but the sheds, we can definitely get people to come out and let us know what would be code for what we want to do there. Different events, we'd like to have school groups come out so that we can promote local farming to them, the history of farming, what's currently happening in farming and where farming is going. And focused on families, focused on kids with the cooking classes as you read earlier. And possibly in the future down the road have like a room or two where maybe somebody could come and stay on the farm and have the on-farm experience and be involved in the local area, the Amish community, the river, the different restaurants in the area.
Staff comments, please?
Will there be any employees outside the immediate family?
Yes, myself would be the first employee, possible one other employee, but the family would be the major focus.
And do you have any idea how many employees you could anticipate during a peak season?
No. But I would say 2 or 3. I mean, it's hard to say. Hopefully it'll build and, it will get busy, but we definitely would have, 1 or 2 people in each area where there are things for sale. That's actually been a large part of the discussion.
Okay.
Not having a lot of buildings unattended.
No big number of employees, so just small groups.
Yeah.
What sort of traffic do you anticipate, and what sort of parking will you need?
Anticipated traffic, it's, Highway 21 is the busiest highway in the state, so we've been told. So it'd be great to get a lot of traffic to sell a lot of stuff. It's a wide open area. You have great visibility for at least a quarter mile each direction. We will establish an in driveway and out driveway. Parking, I believe it didn't make it in here, but we have a several 100-foot long section by 80 to 100 feet wide between 2 buildings that will be perfect for 2 rows of cars. Overflow parking, there's a long driveway. There's also a field road. There's lots of land to utilize, hundreds of acres around there for parking far off the road.
So even at peak usage, you would find adequate place for all the vehicles, likely?
Absolutely. That would be one of my big priorities, because when I go to an event and there's not good parking, it really irritates me. So we will definitely establish areas of current parking, overflow parking stage 1, overflow parking stage 2.
Is there an advertising sign planned?
There is, we want to have within the current codes, I believe it's 32 square feet, we'd like to put that size of a sign on the front of the property, and or half that size, and then maybe another sign on one end of the property, the other. We haven't done that total conversation, but it would be nice to have an indicator coming from Wautoma, an indicator coming from Richford, and then a sign at there. Our goal is to not have large signs, but enough that you could tell what's coming up instead of get there, slam on your brakes, and then turn in the driveway and the other guy goes in the ditch. We don't want that.
Good idea. Are you aware of the state building codes and other state requirements, and will they all be met?
I'm not personally aware of every state building code, but they will all be met, and we will contact all the people that we need to make sure that we get the required permits and everything is done to code.
Are you aware of the health code requirements for preparing and selling food products, and will they be met?
I have the multi-page document talking about food processing plants, of which I've attempted to read several times and fallen asleep twice. But I will continue to read that, and we are talking with Lori at DATCAP. As a matter of fact, I sent her an email. I haven't heard back yet. She's out of the office. To personally come out, if at all possible, and walk us through that process in our site. But again, that might not happen until, end of July, beginning of August.
And what sort of sanitary facilities are you planning?
Whatever's required by code.
Okay.
When we have an event, we would like to have a seasonal event like an on-the-farm meal. Of course, we would bring in, plenty of porta potties that would be required to service the number of people that are there. Again, trying to provide an environment and an event that we would all like to attend and walk away going, wasn't that great, instead of, oh my gosh, can you believe they did that there? We want to provide that as an asset to the community, not an eyesore.
And are you aware that commercial kitchens generate high-strength waste because of all the undigested food particles and could need additional treatment to the wastewater that is generated?
We are aware of that. We have contacted local contractors to discuss how to manage that kind of waste.
Are any other activities or buildings planned other than what you have indicated on the site plan?
No, our goal is to utilize what's there and not add to it, again, in keeping with the on-farm experience and promoting that historical aspect of that farm. It's been around for a long time.
Will all activities be inside, or will some activities take place outside?
Inside and outside.
What sort of extra activities do you plan to have during the special events? For example, hay rides, petting zoo, pumpkin picking tours in the outlying areas?
We would like to have people pick pumpkins. We just planted a bunch out front along the highway. Hopefully they don't die. They're not getting watered unless it rains. And ideally a hay maze for kids. They can walk in. It's open to the sky, but they can walk around, kind of like the corn maze idea. Possibly a corn maze later on. But again, those events that make sense to hold because people enjoy them, but they are not going to cause problems.
Are you planning any new driveways?
No new driveways. There's 2 perfectly good driveways there with perfect in and a perfect out with good visibility.
Have you talked to the state DOT to see if you will need a permit to upgrade the existing driveways to commercial?
No, but I'm currently making a note as you speak. Okay.
And has there been a recent survey on that property?
There has been. I have a copy of it right here. It was done on February 14th, 2013 by Patrick Kyer.
Okay, and so therefore you know where the lot lines are?
Correct.
Okay, most of the narrative focuses on harvesting of crops and selling of produce and products made from excess produce. Do you plan to expand in any other seasons, into any other seasons such as Christmas or spring planting festival?
Yes, the seasonal events that we would talk about would be a spring harvest festival promoting spring products that are ready to be eaten in the spring. Because flights do also have greenhouses, so they have products ready early so people can enjoy the benefits of those products. A fall event, and then probably, or back it up, a summer event and then a fall event. Currently no talks of winter events because of what comes with all what's required for that. If that idea comes up, which I'm sure it will because it's a good idea, it'd be fun, like Ice Age Trail kind of winter events, we'll look into what's ever required for permits and codes and that type of thing.
Okay. And you discussed featuring some dinners. Could you describe these events, and if they are successful, would you hold more than the 3 per year?
I would recommend that we not hold more than 3 per year based on everything that we're trying to do there. It's a full plate, no pun intended, as we speak. Those dinners, in our mind's eye, are kind of like the PBS show that you see where they have the local foods being promoted, whether it's local beef, grass-fed beef, or whether it's the local corn that was grown or the beans that are grown organically on the Flight Farm or other organic products. So promoting environmental protection in our foods while we actually protect our own bodies at the same time.
When you talk about promotion of area craft people, do you plan to have periodic art and craft fairs, or would these items be permanent feature of the retail sales being proposed?
The current idea is that they'd be permanent features of the sale proposed.
If an approval were granted, when do you anticipate starting operation?
Everybody loves that question. We would like to start ideally with some kind of fall event if things were approved. We could bring in the porta potties, we could promote, this is what we're trying to do, the coming soon, the future ideas. So ideally we'd like to do something in the fall, but of course we're moving at the speed of approvals and permits and codes and conditions.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Any other committee questions?
I don't know why I have one.
Oh, you always do.
I don't normally do this, but I'm thinking about the driveway, and the only thing that concerns me is, I mean, everyone talks about the in and out, but the driveway ends up going right through the middle of the farm where everyone's going to be walking. So I would just caution you that maybe that might not be the best solution in the long run, because you don't want everybody driving around
Where there's pedestrian
there's
traffic.
foot traffic. But I am not a driveway designer or parking designer, but I just wanted to mention that because that's something that I think could be dangerous if you have 100 cars there. But that's it.
I will make a note of that, and that may come out in conversation with the state DOT, may have the same comment.
Okay, no other committee questions? Thank you, Chris. Correspondence?
We received a letter on June 13th from Julia Staler, the clerk of the town of Richford. It says, "Happy day. Following the review and recommendation by the town of Richford Land Use Commission, the Richford Town Board recommends the zone change as presented by Flight Family Farm for the property address of W10770 State Road 21, Coloma. If you have any questions, please contact myself or Robert Wadel. Thank you and have a happy day." And again, that's signed Julia Staler, clerk for the town of Richford. On June 12th, we did receive an email from Kelly Nicholas of the DOT addressed to Christine in our office, and it says, "Hi, Christine, if the zone change goes through, the flights will need to contact us to reapply for commercial use permits. Both driveways are currently permitted as either agriculture or residential. I have attached the old permits and a blank application. Let me know if you have any questions." And again, that's signed Kelly Nicholas, Access Management Coordinator for DOT. And that's it for correspondence.
Anyone in favor or
No one
opposition?
registered.
Nobody registered? Staff comments, please.
Zone changes are a little bit different than conditional uses. You need to remember that they're more permanent. If there's something that's listed as a permitted or a conditional use, you know, it can stay in that zone, but we couldn't really find anything in the ag zone that matched this proposal. This was something that was more commercial and commercial service, which is geared toward the tourist or traveler, even though it is also geared for local people too. So this is a zone change that permanently changes the underlying zone on that property. It's a 3-step process. It's reviewed tonight at a public hearing. Then the Planning and Zoning Committee will take that information and make a recommendation to the full county board. And then finally, it will go to the town board for review. And the application must be approved at all 3 places before it becomes final. So it's a permanent and longer process than the other ones that this committee has looked at. When the committee visited the property, they noted that there's good visibility along the highway, as was noted by the applicant's representative. There's certainly adequate room for parking if they haven't planted pumpkins everywhere in that field. The farm itself is located off the highway, so it should not be a distraction or a safety hazard. It's not like it's right on the road while events are taking place. And finally, they noted that there are no nearby homes in the immediate area. And that's it for my comments.
Okay, would the applicant have anything else to add? Okay, that concludes the applications for the zoning committee. The Board of Adjustments will meet next right here. We will conduct our business meeting in the room next door, which you are all able to come over and sit with us. Deserve it. I know you would. You would. His chance will come. Yeah.
Sun right in your eyes? Oh, shade. Yeah, I'll take care of it.
That one's permanently down.
Call this meeting of Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Planning and Zoning Committee. Please remember to keep your comments brief, no more than 5 minutes, and relative to the matter at hand. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information on appeals is available from the county clerk's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. Now I introduce the rest of the committee. To my left are Larry Tim, John Benz, Vern Tallickson, Kevin Fitzgerald. My name is Roger Wagner. Terry Dopp-Paukstad is at my right. First variance to be considered tonight, Gary Burmeister, Watoma, Wisconsin, made an application for variance after the fact in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph 1, paragraph E of the Waushara County Zoning Code to enlarge and replace existing windows requiring structural alterations and exceeding maintenance and repair allowed to an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming due to water setback in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land being part of Government Lot 3, being part of the northeast one quarter, the southwest one quarter, Section 15, Town of Dakota, Witters Lake, N 1449 South Witters Lake Drive. Is the applicant present? Yes. Would you come forward, please? State your name for the record.
Gary Burmeister.
Gary, anything further to add at this time?
Pretty much that's it. The windows were outdated. They weren't energy efficient, and there's only one exit, so they wouldn't even open up far enough to make an escape if you had to in an emergency. And when I replaced them, these are old, outdated windows. To get something exactly the same size, but with the lintels above, which is like headers, I needed to do it right, so I put some, and we had to take a little bit of the block wall to put these new lentils or headers in, to do it right, and that was pretty much the extent of the difference.
Okay, just a few comments then, or questions for the record. Has there been a recent survey out there?
I'm not exactly sure if there has or not. I purchased property recently. I have a tax survey, I believe it is.
So there was no survey done at the time of purchase?
I'm not aware of one, but
Do you know where the ordinary high water mark is?
they, looks like it's right at the edge of the rock line if you were out there.
Okay. Any plans for filling or grading or the foundation work? What about roof repairs?
Roof is fine. There is some edges around the soffits that have to be replaced or repaired, but that's the soffits and the fascia boards, but that's mostly the edging. There's some leaking around the edges where the drain drip boards has pulled back, but the roof, as far as the shingles, are fine.
What type of foundation is this home on? And no changes to the building itself other than windows and interior work?
The wiring is outdated, so it's a block building, so I'm going to take and have to put furring on the inside, 1.5 inches by 2, and just run the wire through that. Because it's a block, you can't run wire through blocks. So it's in the bathroom. We're going to put a new bathroom, toilet and a shower in there because the other one was rusted out, was a metal one.
Okay, so no other improvements are planned at this time other than the windows and the electric?
Well, once I put the studs in there and the wiring, and I'm going to run the plumbing through that and drywall. So it's going to be just, repairs to the inside and updating it because it's just, the wiring is outdated.
Are all other setbacks met?
As far as I understand, they are.
What about the septic system out there?
The holding tank is behind the home.
Is that new?
I'm not sure exactly the age of it. I'm going to have to look into it and see the people who pumped it the last time and see what their determination on that.
We have a sanitary permit from 1996.
Have you considered any other options out there as far as possibly moving it back and relocating it?
Financially, no, I haven't, because it seems like it'd be a major expense. And I'd have to remove the septics. It's the whole thing. It's just, I hadn't considered that, no.
It is a very large lot, correct?
It's a large, but it's at an angle. It's not like a square lot. It's kind of a triangle almost.
What's the actual hardship out there or unique property limitation that would support us approving this variance?
Well, the limitation was a block building. It wasn't like a frame building where you can stick something in. It's an older building. I couldn't get windows exactly to fit. And because of the new windows, so the headers were necessary to replace those to make it, a good construction, make it do it right. And the block building just kind of gives a little bit of a limitation as opposed to a building made out of wood.
So what are you saying the hardship is? Because it's a block building?
Well, that is a hardship. It makes it a lot more difficult than if you have a stick building where you have studs running through it. You can make adjustments in those and put studs in or whatever you need. But a block building, if you put a window in and it's a little bit bigger than what you have to take a little bit of the block out. And that's the only difference. What happened is that we had to put a header in and removed a little bit of the block to do that.
Have you thought about revegetating the shoreline?
Well, there is vegetation right down there. It's grass to it. There's trees right next to the shoreline, and there's also reeds growing along the shoreline. And it's a good cover for fish, so wouldn't see removing that. I mean, it's something you would want, actually. It's more of a wild area.
Under current standards, I don't think your vegetation plan is probably what would be adequate.
Probably not. I mean, what's there is probably good, but it may need to be augmented if it were to meet a revegetation
What kind of
plan now.
vegetation are you,
It's always native. They look at ground cover, shrubs, trees, and probably widening it out a little bit if at all possible.
which part?
From the lake shore back towards the building. I mean, obviously it can't be real wide because the structure is so close to the water. You know, they don't want trees hanging over your house either. But that would be at the call of the Land Conservation Department if there was any kind of requirement to do that.
If approved, are you familiar with what permits you'll need?
We already had a permit to do the electrical, update that. It's already, if you've been out there, you saw it was already approved as far as the new, it isn't hooked up yet, but the new entranceway and all the boxes are brand new. We were getting permits for this stuff, but when the inspector was inspecting the other one, that's when he indicated that the windows were a problem, so we have been on a hold on those.
If an approval were granted, when do you anticipate the project would be completed?
Completed. I don't know, the people I had lined up to work on it now are, of course, real busy, so I would hope by the end of the summer.
Okay, any other committee questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Did you have a conversation with zoning before you started any construction on it?
Yes, I did. I called them up and asked them about the windows, and they indicated it wasn't a problem, and the woman in zoning actually called the inspector in because she didn't understand why I had to have a variance either. So I was getting some conflicting information from them, and he actually seemed apologetic, but he said because we moved just a little bit of brick, a block, that he had no choice, but,
Did you consider custom-made windows before you did any other structural changes on it?
I considered it, but because of the block above the headers, I had to replace those, and that's where the problem really came. And the headers, the ones that were in there were, too old, and to do it right and leave those in there would not have been, wouldn't have been a good idea.
And the broken concrete block that's in the lake,
that stuff was all there prior. I mean, I can get that stuff out, but they told me not to do anything on there, and I didn't,
And there's no electric hookup there, no, at this time?
All the new boxes are in, and for the hookup is there, and they asked me if I wanted to hook it up, but I haven't done it yet. I was waiting, for the results of this.
Thank you.
But it's all set up for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Correspondence?
As I noted in the previous portion of the public hearing, we do have a letter from DNR from Michael Wenholtz received on June 14th. It's addressed to me. It says, Terry, I'm ready to provide comments regarding Arrow Ridge Ranch and the Burmeister property, Welch property, and Catlin Trust variance requests that are to be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments on Thursday, June 20th. Thank you for providing me with application materials and for Christine and Amy discussing these sites with me. I'm providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and or read before the Board of Adjustments. And regarding the Burmeister property requests, the department understands the principal structure lies well within the required 75-foot ordinary high water mark setback of the Waushara County Zoning Code, including well within the absolute minimum setback of 35 feet from the ordinary high water mark, specifically noted in section 58-235, parens B, parens 1. The structure sits 27 feet from the ordinary high water mark. This is an after-the-fact request, and at the very least, the majority of the property between the principal structure and the ordinary high water mark is mowed and contains little or no vegetative buffer. The department does not believe the applicants have demonstrated the request meets all criteria required for granting a variance. Specifically, the department believes the applicants have not demonstrated a unique property limitation exists. Thus, the department believes the request should be denied. However, if the Board of Adjustments finds the applicant has demonstrated meeting all 3 criteria required for granting a variance, the department recommends the following be required as a condition. Install and maintain a vegetative buffer consistent with NRCS Standard 643A and Wisconsin Biology Technical Note Number 1, Shoreline Habitat and other provisions of Section 58-903, Parents N of the Zoning Code. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding these requests, and please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email. And again, that's signed Michael Wenholtz of DNR. And that's it for correspondence.
No one registered staff comments?
I'm going to explain a little bit. Well, for the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and all the other applications that they will be considering tonight. And they also visited all the properties and viewed the proposals and their location on each parcel. I'd like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. We're no longer looking at the use of the property. These are all permitted uses. But we're looking at where it would be located on the lot. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons. This is outlined in law, and these include that there is an unnecessary hardship being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards. And finally, if the variance is granted, that no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It's the applicant's responsibility to present this case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or even nearby violations cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that the cottage has 1 exit and that updated windows could serve as emergency egress should there be a fire or some other emergency. I'd also like to explain a little bit about what the zoning code says you can or cannot do to non-conforming structures due to water setback. And when you're closer than 35 feet, there isn't a lot that you can do. There is maintenance, which would allow updating of plumbing, the wiring, reshingling, residing, and replacement of windows that are the same size, but it does not allow for structural repairs or alterations. So that's the problem here is we've done something structural that exceeded what can be done because the cottage is so close to the ordinary high water mark. As far as my comments go, this one's really close to the line for me. We're not adding on, we're not increasing impervious surfaces. It sounds like the only thing that needs to be done is replace these windows, and in order to do it right and make it safe, we had to put in a new header, and that caused the structural changes that brought us here. I could see that if there are other improvements planned, if the roof was in terrible shape and it needed to be completely replaced or repitched and have all new rafters, I would definitely recommend that it be denied. But at this point, if the rest of the cottage is in good shape, I think it's up to the discretion of the board. I think and you guys have that discretion, I don't, but it's very close to that line for me as far as the code goes. If there was more structural things that needed to be done, I would have to recommend that it be denied because there certainly is room to relocate the cottage or build a new one in a compliant location. It is a pie-shaped lot, but there's still room out there to do that. So that's it for my comments.
Does the applicant have anything in rebuttal? Okay. Next variance to be considered, Robert T. and Jeannie M. Welch, Red Granite, Wisconsin, made an application for variance in accordance with Section 58-542, Paragraph C, Paragraph 4, the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct an approximate 29-foot by 2-foot high rock retaining wall, existing bag wall to be removed, coming to within 2 feet of the ordinary high water mark of Silver Lake, 49.5-foot average setback required in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreland area. Location, a parcel of land known as Lot 4 and the west 35 feet of Lot 5, Block N of Silvercrest Resort Plat, being part of the southeast one quarter, Section 6, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, W6959, State Road 21. Would you come forward, please?
Hi, guys. Bob Welch.
Anything further to add at this time, Bob?
Yeah, just comment that we bought the place with Jeannie's sister and her husband 2 years ago. We inherited the sandbag wall. Actually, before we bought it, we had Amy and Tom out there to say, what do we need to do on this lot? We know there was some issues with the boathouse. They were very helpful in what we can and can't do. Tom gave us all kinds of information about how to replant and restore the sand wall, which at that point was already starting to fail. I would say exactly what he told me to do, which was go to Prairie Nursery, buy these plants, plant them this way. The first year, 2/3 of the wall was underwater because the water was so high. Everything died. Came back and planted in the spring last year when the water was still high, and within a few months it all died from the drought. Meanwhile, in between, the water high had ice, hooked onto the bags, pulled them out into the lake, and started to actually physically wreck the sandbags. So it just doesn't work. So I sort of threw myself on the mercy of the court, called the zoning office, and John and Rick came out, and we just sat there and scratched our heads until we came up with an answer. On the west part, we're going to remove the wall altogether and go to 100% natural. We got plenty of room to do that. It never needed a wall there to begin with. We're going to do the plantings exactly the way we're instructed to do. We realized we lost a few shrubs during the drought last year, so we'll replant those. Get rid of the god-awful Japanese knotweed, which I thought was a native plant and I couldn't cut, or I would have cut it a long time ago. But in front of the boathouse, that won't work. It's only a few feet from the boathouse to the water. We'll lose the whole boathouse if we don't do something to maintain that structure there. So we plan, it's not a wall exactly, a rock riprap to match what the neighbors have on both sides, and most of the lake, quite frankly, has it. We think that'll work fine, and then once the rock wall, we have an upper limit on that in the letter here, and then we'll just have a grade up to the foundation of the boathouse, where we'll plant some low-growing plants under there. We're ripping that whole walkway out and going to replace it. So hopefully when we're done, it'll look nice, be a good neighbor, and be structurally sound and be more native than it was before.
Okay, just a few questions then for the record. Has there been a recent survey out there?
Both lots next to us have been surveyed, and I've located all the pipes, so I know where everything is.
Okay. The rock riprap will be placed above the ordinary high water mark and extend to a point that is 4.5 feet higher than the ordinary high water mark.
1.4 feet higher than the ordinary high water mark.
Okay.
Yes.
And only in front of the boathouse.
Front of the boathouse over to where the steps are.
There's a set of steps coming down that are in bad disrepair.
That's all coming out. There's steps from like the walkway up. Those are going to stay, but everything is from there to the lake is coming out. And the steps from to the water, which will stay out of behind the ordinary water mark, but those will be removable in some way, either on a hinge or we'll pull them out for the winter or something, so we don't have that problem. Those were wrecked by ice. It's amazing what it can do.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No.
I guess your hardship is the original plan didn't work.
Yeah, and we're going to buy this letter from you guys. That's our blueprint. So and if you're going to maintain the boathouse and not have it fall into the lake, we got to do something.
Boathouse was previously granted a variance, and you did put, or not you, but the previous owner put the pitched roof on it.
Yep.
If approved, you know what permits you're going to need?
I believe. Well, I don't know. No, I don't know. I thought this was all I need. It's the variance. Maybe I need something else. I might need a building permit for the walkway. I'm not sure.
You need anything else from DNR?
No, because it's above the ordinary high water mark. That's why you're looking at it. If it was a riprap permit at the ordinary high water mark, they would be doing it.
If an approval was granted, when do you anticipate completing the project?
within a month.
Further questions?
Bob, what are you going to replace the walkway with?
It'll be wood.
Will be-
It'll be wood. Probably treated lumber, yeah.
Is that the walkway in front of the garage doors too
Yeah.
on there, the whole thing?
The whole thing. Yeah, it's probably structurally not too bad, but it's because of the ice heave and all that, and you can't just replace part of it, it'll look bad. So, and besides, when we're pulling all that out, those posts going down in, we're just gonna take them out so we can see what we're doing and put the land the way we want it first, then put the posts in, so we do it the right way.
How are they gonna get down to the water to get those bags out?
Actually, we're gonna do a lot of that ourselves, and it's,
No heavy equipment?
nope, no heavy equipment. I don't think that'd be practical.
Some broken concrete block on the, that all gonna be removed too?
Yeah, that's just there so someone doesn't kill themselves on those steps. Literally, that's why it's there. I didn't want to pull the steps out until you guys looked at it, you know.
Yeah.
They will come out immediately now, so nobody
We were
gets hurt.
hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Correspondence?
We took a telephone call from Gary Waleko, actually one of the members of the staff in the office did, on June 7th, and it just says, regarding Bob Welch, Town Board has no problem with retaining wall. And then again, we have a letter from the DNR. I will just read the parts that are pertinent to the Welch property. It says the department understands the applicant has been working with the Waushara County Land Conservation and Zoning Department and is willing to implement their recommendations. The Waushara County Land Conservation and Zoning Department has determined the existing EnviroLock bag wall is failing and that another method of bank stabilization and erosion control is necessary. If the board finds the applicant has demonstrated meeting all three criteria required for granting a variance, the department recommends the following be required as a condition. And it's implement all the recommendations listed in John Olson's letter of recommendation to the applicants dated May 6th of 2013. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations, some of which would likely be necessary if the variance is granted. If the variance is granted, the applicant should work with Sarah Adkins to determine if any waterway permits will be needed. And there is a phone number listed. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Arrow Ridge Ranch conditional use request and Burmeister property, Welch property, and Catlin Trust variance requests. Please contact me if you have any questions. And that's signed Mike Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources. That's it for correspondence.
No unregistered staff comments?
Again, remember, we're asking for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. And they do need to meet all those three reasons why they need the variance before it can be granted. When the board visited the property, they noted that the boathouse had previously had a variance approved to allow the larger size and the pitched roof. And then the walkway and stairs certainly appeared to need to be replaced or repaired. And finally, they noted that if all of the recommendations of the Land Conservation Department are followed, the site should become much more stable and help to protect the existing boathouse. The Land Conservation technical staff looked at the site and noted the recommendations for removal of the failing bag wall and the specifics on the installation of the rock wall to protect the boathouse foundation. They also noted that the shoreline vegetation that was installed under a cost share agreement does need some maintenance work and some replanting. But once that was done, the buffer would be compliant with all county code requirements. This will include removal of that nasty invasive species and planting a few more shrubs. It certainly appears to me that if the site is restored as noted in the land conservation plans and what we've heard in testimony tonight, it will provide better protection to the lake while also protecting the shoreline and the structure that's present there. That's kind of the issue with this one is we do have some obligation to protect the structure there. This is above the ordinary high water mark, so it does fall within zoning jurisdiction, and we do consider any kind of retaining wall to be a structure, so that's why we're having the public hearing tonight. And it's really what the code provisions meant to do when they were written. You know, we're trying to be reasonable but not have retaining walls everywhere if they're not necessary. So that's it for my comments.
Applicant have anything in rebuttal? Okay. Next variance to be considered, Magdance Dairy LLC, Pine River, Wisconsin. Carol Sattler, landowner, has made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-828, paragraph C, the Washir County zoning code, to establish a second access onto a Class B highway, County Road E, for agricultural use in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 14.46 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 5307, being part of the northeast one quarter, the southeast one quarter, Section 29, Town of Saxville, W 4535, South County Road A and County Road E. The applicant present?
My name is Bob Magdance. I'm representing Magdance Dairy LLC. We recently entered a 5-year rental agreement for an agricultural field from Carol Sattler, and there's no existing suitable entrance to that field, so we're requesting a variance to access our field.
Okay. Recent survey out there, it's been the same field forever, correct?
That's right.
You know where the road right-of-way is?
Yes. We've also met with a representative from the Highway Department and found a suitable location for the driveway.
We noticed the stakes out along County E. That's where the new driveway is going. You had been using just the flat portion up by the intersection, and
That's right.
Really
we didn't know we had to have a variance.
Okay. The one up at the intersection is not the safest place to go in and out either, probably.
That's highly visible, but I guess it isn't suitable.
Okay, and the County Highway Department is in favor of the variance, is that correct?
That's right.
And have they indicated whether a culvert's going to be needed?
He told me that because it's on top of a hill that no culvert was needed.
Driveway's going to be made wide enough for all of your equipment?
Approximately 30 feet.
I guess we noticed that the hardship there is the driveway off the intersection, and you can't come through the building site. It's about as narrow
Can't
as...
go to the building site. No, it's way too narrow.
Okay. If an approval were granted, when would the new driveway be installed?
Within a month.
Any other committee questions? Thank you, Bob. Correspondence?
We did receive an email from Tom Dalkey of the Highway Department on June 18th. It's addressed to Amy. The Washir County Highway Department has reviewed the area of the proposed driveway installation on County E. The visibility is sufficient, as is the spacing from County A. We do not have an objection to the driveway being located where proposed, and that signed Tom Dalkey, Highway Department.
No one registered. Staff comments?
Again, we're looking at a variance. You know, we have to prove the 3 standards that we need to meet before we can approve a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that there is good visibility at the proposed driveway location, and they noted that certainly modern machinery would not be able to navigate through the old farmyard and driveway as constructed. There was also some discussion about trying to relocate that driveway and how you never know what you're going to run into. The septic system might be there, something else, and so that was kind of ruled out too. And that's it for my comments.
Okay, the next variance to be considered, Thomas Jr. and Charlotte Caitlin Trust, Wapaka, Wisconsin, made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B, paragraph 1, and 58-512, paragraph C, paragraph 4 of the Washir County Zoning Code to construct a 10 by 11 foot addition to an existing attached open deck and construct a 10 by 18 screen porch on a new addition and existing deck attached to an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming due to water setback in the RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreline area. Location, approximate 2-acre parcel of land known as Lot 2 of Certified Survey Map number 45, being part of Government Lot 1 and part of the northeast 1/4, the southeast 1/4, Section 7, Town of Saxville, W4511 Shagbark Lane. The applicant present? Yes. Come forward and state your name, please.
Catlin.
Okay. Anything further to add at this time, Tom?
The deck, the porch is approximately 10 by 16, I think 16 or 16 and a half. I brought in a corrected drawing when I realized that I'd made an error in the original drawing and oversized it. I had a neighbor come over he received a letter from zoning, and he came over to see what I was proposing to do before he answered it. And when I was pointing out, showing him what I was going to do, I realized the error that I made in the dimensions.
And now that you mention it, Vern wasn't at site, so I didn't give him room, so that one's for Vern.
Okay, anything else to add at this time? Or otherwise I have some general questions. Recent survey out there?
No, the property has been in the family since 1940. My father split out the lot from a larger parcel that my grandfather owned in 1956. I bought the property from my father in 1971. It was surveyed at that time. I do know where all of the stakes are.
Okay. Do you feel there'd be any additional erosion or stormwater runoff with this? And what type of foundation is this going to be placed on?
Well, the existing deck is there.
You're just going to set this on top of the deck?
Yeah, it's the upper part of the deck is pinned to a concrete structure, and the part that's going to be added to, the intent is to pour a pad and pin it to the top of an existing granite boulder that's, I wouldn't want to guess what size that thing is, but it's very, very large.
And what is going to be the finished height of this screen addition?
I'd have to go back and review the drawing. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head, but we did submit a drawing that was prepared by Jerry Hansen. Here it is. See if it has it on there. I don't see the height. It's a 7-foot to eave with a 412 pitch, if I remember correctly. Being 10 foot wide, that's not very much of a height addition over the 7 feet.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No.
All other setbacks will be met?
Yes.
Okay. What about?
The answer is yes. I'm not sure what setbacks you were talking about.
What about the septic system there? Is that fairly new?
Septic system was installed in 1983. It functions perfectly fine. I chemically treat it twice a year. It is pumped every 3 years by Johnny Rockwood.
Have you considered any other options, such as building this detached screen porch in a compliant location?
There really isn't any other location that's of any practicality on the property. As you recall, it's built into a rather steep hill. The original structure that was there was built in 1956. We took it down in 1982, mostly because it was falling down. We gave up trying to salvage it. And the structure that's there at present was built with an approved variance.
Okay. What are the hardships and unique property limitations that would support the variance?
Well, the reason that we elected to look at building a porch is that my wife has had 2 melanoma surgeries in the last 2.5 years. The last one being in, what was it, 1st of April? And it was a class 2 melanoma of a rare type. And the doctor suggested very strongly that she find a way to spend more time out of the sun. Our deck, as it exists today, is pretty much exposed to sun all the daylight hours. So we were looking at how we might be able to allow her to enjoy the outdoors without spending an inordinate amount of time in the sun. And that's why we elected to look at a porch. The hot tub that was there was put in a long time ago when the kids were young. The kids are grown and gone. The hot tub has been out of order for many, many years, and we elected to remove the hot tub, resting in a landfill someplace. Good place for hot tubs, by the way. And hopefully we'd like to put a screened-in porch there.
Are there any other non-conforming structures on the property?
Well, technically, there's a boathouse on the property. The boathouse was built by my father and myself in 1960 and remains there today. In fact, we lived in that boathouse for a whole year while our existing structure was being built. 5 of us lived in that boathouse.
And are you planning on removing any of the non-conforming structures?
No, we are not.
And the boathouse, is that boathouse, bunkhouse, is that the same building we're looking at down by the water?
Yes. It served as a bunkhouse. It got converted into that and served as that back in the 80s when we were building the existing structure. And when my daughter was a teenager, she and her girlfriends used to have sleepovers in it. But it basically is a storage unit now.
The bunkhouse and probably the multiple retaining walls between the home and the lake are non-conforming. Would you be willing to remove all of these and plant a native buffer along the shoreline?
We put those retaining walls in. They're all fieldstone walls. That was a rather steep hill, and because of its summer exposure, it never was able to retain vegetation during the summer. Tended to have erosion problems, and that's why we put the retaining walls in. And we planted the retaining walls all with wildflowers. We lost a good portion of them last year in the drought. I've replanted seeds this year, but at least to date, I can't see where they're coming up. I don't know if I had bad seed or they're slow to germinate, but they've been in there for about 3.5 weeks and nothing's come up. So,
if an approval were granted, when would you start construction of the screen porch?
Well, we would want to start this summer season. We had a window from Jerry Hansen, which has since gone away because we had to go through the variance. Subject to getting a variance, we're going to have to reschedule with Jerry, but the idea is to have it finished before fall. We certainly aren't going to be able to build it within a month anymore because Jerry's a very, very busy person.
Any other committee questions?
Tom, have you ever considered maybe one of these awnings that comes out, a retractable awning or something to keep the sun?
Yeah, I've looked at it, but if you remember the building, we've got 2-foot overhangs on that building, and by the time you get down to the level where that awning would clear, you're just about head height.
Oh.
Not me, but my kids are 6'4".
On the drawing that I have here, the builder writes you a note, Tom, I thought I had figured 2-foot overhang on, but I only figured 1 foot.
No, it's only a 1-foot overhang. The original when I originally conceived it, I was thinking 2 foot. When he drew it as a 1 foot, and then I gave it some more thought, I said, you are correct, and I was wrong. There's absolutely no reason to have a 2-foot overhang.
Where the edge of the deck is now,
Yeah.
is the 1-foot overhang going to be
Over the
over
deck,
that edge?
yes, it would be over the edge. It would be eavestroughed, so it isn't free fall.
So when he asked you if there was going to be more runoff, that question, it would be a yes answer instead of a no answer because you have more surface area now.
I guess if you say 1-foot overhang, yes.
Yeah.
The reason, you want a 1-foot overhang because you don't want that water running down the side of your structure to last long.
Okay, thank you. Any correspondence?
Yes, we have quite a bit. On June 13th, we received a letter from the town of Saxville addressed to me. It says at the regular monthly meeting of the Town Board of Saxville on May 20th, 2013, Mrs. Sherry Catlin reported that she and her husband Tom have made application for a variance to be considered by the Board of Adjustment. The adjustment plan is to construct a 10 by 11 addition to an existing attached open deck and to construct a 10 by 18 screen porch on the new addition and existing deck. Attached to an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming due to water setback in the RS-20 zone within the shoreland area on an approximate 2.0 acre parcel of land known as Lot 2 of Certified Survey Map Number 45, being part of Government Lot 1 and part of the northeast 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, Section 7, Town of Saxville, W4511, Shagbark Lane. After discussion, it was motioned by Supervisor Hanson and seconded by Supervisor Lynn to fully support Mr. and Mrs. Tom Catlin in their plans for a building variance. Voice vote, all in favor, motion carried. That's signed sincerely, Virginia Cartwright, Clerk, Town of Saxville. On June 7th, we received a letter from the Long Lake Association addressed to the chairperson and myself. And it says, the Long Lake Association has received your notice of the variance application by Mr. and Mrs. Catlin for their property at W4511 Shagbark Lane, Town of Saxville. After review of the information in the notice and speaking with the applicants, the Long Lake Association does not oppose said variance application. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. And that's signed sincerely, Gary Wisbrocker, President. On June 14th, we received a copy of a letter, I guess, addressed to me, and it says, I'm writing this letter in regards to a patient of mine, Sherry Catlin. I have been seeing her for over 4 years. During this time, she has developed 2 melanomas, a severely atypical novus, as well as numerous precancerous spots. Sun protection plays a huge part in preventing further cancers in her. She is very fair-skinned, and a screened-in porch at her house in Wisconsin would allow her to continue enjoying the beauty of the area, but protect her skin at the same time. We know melanomas are influenced by sun exposure and request all melanoma patients to abide by strict sun protection. Please allow her to have a screened-in porch at her house. This will allow her to continue to enjoy the Wisconsin summers by being outside with her family and at the same time being protected from the sun's harmful rays. Thank you for your time and consideration of this request, and that's signed Kelly Thomas, MD, board-certified dermatologist from Glenwood Medical Associates. On June 19th, we received a letter from Thomas E. and Lori A. Flood. It says, Dear Sirs, we have no objection with the application for a zoning variance as applied for by Thomas Catlin for an addition to an existing deck and an addition of a 10 by 18 screen porch as per Waushara County Zoning Office Notice of Public Hearing sent to neighboring property owners. And their property is located at W4587 Shagbark Lane. Thomas and Lori Flood. Flood. I might need help with this one. There's a letter received June 13th, attention zoning. I've received the public hearing regarding the Catlin's application for a variance to construct an enclosed porch on the existing deck. After visiting with the Catlins and having been shown the location of the placement of the porch, I wish to advise the Board of Adjustments that I have no objection to the granting of their request for a variance. And I think it's signed by Clifford Schultz? Thank you. And that S-C-H-U-L-T-Z, I'm going to guess. U-L-T-Z. On June 13th, we also received a letter from Michael Christensen Says, I'm writing this unsolicited letter concerning the Catlin's variance request to install a screened-in porch on an existing deck at their residence. My property is directly across the lake from the Catlins. I can state that I doubt very much that I will even be able to see the porch, as it will be placed behind existing pine trees and thus shielded from the lake and my property. The real reason for writing this letter is my concern for my friend Sherry Catlin's health, both physically and stress-wise, as she has had her second surgery for melanoma this spring. Cancer really scares her, as she has lost her mother and younger brother from cancer, not melanoma, and recently lost an aunt to cancer, which began as melanoma and spread. Sherry has been an active outdoor person all her life, and this screened-in porch will allow her to spend more time in the outdoors than she would be able to enjoy otherwise, as the balance of their deck is opposed to the sun throughout the day. And again, that's signed Michael Christensen. On June 10th, we received a letter from William and Bernadette Dohr, D-O-H-R, addressed to me. It says, we have a summer home on Long Lake at W4561 Shagbark Lane, and our next door neighbors to Tom and Sherry Catlin. We understand that the Catlins have requested a zoning ruling that would allow them to build a screened-in deck. For the record, we have no objection to this addition. Again, that's William and Bernadette Dohr. On June 6th, we received a letter from Dean Kaul, K-A-U-L, of the Kaul Cottage Trust. It says, to whom it may concern, the Kaul Cottage Trust, W4507 Shagbark Lane in Saxville Township, which occupies the property adjacent to W4511 Shagbark Lane, supports the owners of W4511 Shagbark Lane, Tom and Sherry Catlin, in their desire to build a covered enclosed porch approximately 10 by 20 on their existing deck. The next one's the original. It's the same letter. And then tonight, the Catlins brought in a letter to Washera Zoning that says, please note that Joy and I fully support Tom and Sherry Catlin's request for a variance to place a screened-in porch on the existing deck at their Long Lake residence. And that seems to be signed by both Ray and Christy Dohr and Peter and Joy Dohr. And again, that's D-O-H-R.
Ray and Christy Dohr is the trust the properties under. Peter and Joy own property. How do I say that?
They're like the trustees of the trust?
Yeah.
Okay. I was confused. Thank you. And then there's a handwritten note that says, Tom and Sherry Catlin are very active in keeping Long Lake crystal clear. Signed by one of them. They might be doctors. I don't know. And then, as you probably already know, we have a letter from DNR. And I will just read the part that applies to this application. For the Catlin Trust request, the department understands the principal structure lies well within the required 75-foot ordinary high watermark setback of the Washera County zoning code, including well within the absolute minimum setback of 35 feet from the ordinary high watermark. The structure sits 33 to 34 feet from the ordinary high watermark. The applicant would like to expand a non-conforming deck and enclose much of it as a screened porch. The applicant is not interested in the mitigation options recommended by the Washera County zoning staff. The department does not believe the applicants have demonstrated the request meets all criteria required for granting a variance. Specifically, the department believes the applicants have not demonstrated unnecessary hardship nor a unique property limitation. The request does not appear to consider other compliant locations on the property as required to meet the variance criteria or offer explanations why a more compliant existing deck cannot be screened. Further, the explanation provided in the application is a circumstance of the applicant and cannot be considered for granting a variance. Additionally, the applicant is requesting to not only enclose the non-conforming deck, but also to enlarge it, with the expansion being towards the lake. For all of these reasons, the department believes there is nothing to support the variance request and thus strongly recommends it be denied. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. And that is it for correspondence.
No one registered. Staff comments?
I do feel I need to remind the board, we're looking at a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. This one is similar to the first variance in that it's very close to the ordinary high water mark. It's within that 35 feet. And any addition should be looked at extremely closely. It is the applicant's responsibility to prove those three standards, that there are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards, that no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code if the variance were to be granted, and that there's an unnecessary hardship being caused by the code requirement. It's also been worded that the code would be unnecessarily burdensome to comply with. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or nearby violations cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that there are several non-conforming structures, including the beach house with patio, multiple retaining walls along the shoreline, and that they also noted that the construction would be very close to the lake and it would increase the impervious surfaces on the lot. As far as my recommendations go, I think everyone can certainly sympathize with the applicant and their personal situation. I don't think anyone can say that they don't, but that, again, is not one of the legal standards that the board can consider. I do not believe that the variance request standards have been met, and that this really puts the board in the unenviable position where they should and probably must deny this application, and that is my recommendation. Keep in mind that the Catlins could build a screen porch elsewhere on their property, meeting setbacks. So it's the location so close to the ordinary high water mark that is objectionable. It's not the screen porch. It's not anything like that. It's just that its location is the problem. If the board doesn't agree with me and they were going to consider an approval without proper legal standards being met, I think that they should require mitigation to the highest levels in the zoning code, because this would set a precedence and allow new construction so close to the ordinary high water mark of the lake. And that's it for my comments.
The applicant have anything in rebuttal? Come forward, please, if you would.
Two comments. One, it said that I refused all recommended mitigation. I did not have any recommended mitigation. Somebody did ask at one point, did you consider removing the boathouse? And I said no. But that was the only mitigation that was ever ventured before me. The other thing that they talk about the retaining walls being non-conforming. If we did not have the retaining walls there, we would have more issues, because as I indicated, that hill, and I've lived there my whole life, has never supported vegetation for the length of the summer. It would always burn out and be gone, and we had issues, and that's why we put the retaining walls in. We did not put in concrete. We did not put in landscape timbers. We put in fieldstone. We landscaped it with wildflowers. As far as another location on our property to put a porch, as you guys all saw, we are halfway up a very steep hill. The only place I could put a porch that would meet the conditions would require going above the existing structure and digging into the hill, which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. And would require removing trees and actually creating more impervious surface. If you consider the 1 foot overhang and increase in impervious surface, I'd be creating 100% more impervious surface. So, you know, I hear all the things that are being said, but and maybe my wife's medical condition is not in accordance with the laws today, but it's something that we're trying as a family to deal with, and we're trying to deal with it in a responsible way by taking that deck and putting it on the porch and putting it on an existing deck and putting it in a location that is not would not offend anybody using the water. It would be basically out of sight from the water. That was, we tried to look at our options, and if you guys have toured the property, I understand the DNR fellow, he hasn't toured the property, so he doesn't understand it, but But that's the facts.
Okay. That closes the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. We will go right into our business meeting at this time, at which time we will vote on the applications presented at the public hearing.